The 4-month sleep regression is one of the most talked about and misunderstood topics in baby sleep, because when sleep suddenly changes, it's very easy to assume something has gone wrong. More waking, shorter stretches, bedtime becoming harder, and the word regression makes that feel even more concerning because it suggests that something has been lost, but that's not actually what's happening here. Hi, I'm Lyndsey, co-founder of the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program, where we train professionals to understand sleep through biology, responsiveness, development and behaviour, not fear-based messaging or rigid rules. This 4-month phase creates a lot of anxiety, not just because sleep can change, but because of how those changes are explained. So what I want to do in this video is slow this down a little bit and look at what is actually going on without the noise. Let's start with the word itself, because in clinical terms, regression has a very specific meaning. It refers to the loss of a previously acquired skill. That's something clinicians pay attention to. It's a signal that something isn't progressing or being maintained as expected. But sleep doesn't belong in that category. Sleep isn't a learned skill that can be gained or lost. It's a biological process. It's driven by internal systems like sleep pressure and circadian rhythm, not practice or performance. So when sleep suddenly looks different, it's not because something has regressed or been lost. It's because something has changed. And that's a really important distinction because it changes how the situation is approached. One of the simplest ways to understand baby sleep is this. Sleep reflects what's happening in the body and brain and environment. It doesn't operate in isolation. So any time there is change, that could be physical growth, developmental learning, illness, discomfort, environmental shifts, even subtle changes in routine, sleep is often affected, not because something's broken, but because the system is adapting. And at this stage of development, babies are not yet able to regulate those changes independently. They can't rationalize what's happening. They can't calm themselves consistently or move easily from alertness into a settled state by themselves. So when things feel different, internally or externally, sleep often becomes lighter, more fragmented, or harder to sustain. Now this is where the 4-month regression label comes in, because yes, sleep often does change around this age, but not in a fixed, predictable or universal way, and not because there is a single biological switch that flips at 4 months. There isn't strong evidence that sleep always matures at this exact point, and there isn't evidence that this alone causes disruption anyway. What's really happening is that around this age, multiple changes tend to converge, and when several things shift at once, sleep tends to reflect that. So let's look at those changes more fully, because this is where things start to make sense. Sleep needs are shifting, first of all. Around this stage, total sleep across 24 hours often reduces by roughly a couple of hours, actually, compared to earlier months. That's not a small adjustment. It means that patterns that previously worked quite smoothly, nap frequency, timing, even bedtime, may no longer feel as effective. And when there's more time in bed than the body actually needs, sleep can become more broken, with more frequent waking or difficulty settling. Awareness is increasing. At the same time, babies are becoming much more aware of the world around them. They're no longer in that very sleepy early phase where feeding and sleeping take up most of the day. There's more curiosity, more engagement, more interest in what's happening around them. Feeding can become more distracted, daytime becomes more active, and all of that increased stimulation has to be processed, which doesn't just disappear when the lights go out. This is also a stage where development can feel quite rapid. Things like rolling, reaching, grabbing, bringing hands to the mouth, increased social interaction. The brain is busy making new connections, and when the brain is busy, sleep can feel less settled. Not because sleep's the problem, because development is happening and regulation is still catching up. This is probably the most important piece. Even though more is happening, the ability to regulate all of that is still immature. And there's more stimulation, more awareness, more change, and yet not the internal tools to manage that smoothly. So when regulation is under pressure, sleep is often where that shows up first. This links quite closely to something we've talked about in another video on this channel, why babies fight sleep at bedtime. So go and take a look to see how this fits into the bigger picture. Now, where this becomes more unhelpful is in the messaging that surrounds it, because many parents are told this is the stage where sleep needs to be fixed, or this is the point where independent sleep must happen, and that if it isn't, sleep is going to become a long-term problem. This creates a lot of pressure, often a sense of urgency, often a sense of failure, and it's not grounded in evidence. Sleep at this stage is not a deadline, it's a period of change, and trying to override that change with rigid expectations can actually make things feel harder. A more useful approach is to step back slightly and ask, what's changed here? Because once that's clear, support can be adjusted. That might mean recognising that sleep needs have shifted, allowing more time for play, movement and interaction during the day, expecting a bit more variability in feeding and settling, accepting that sleep may feel a little less predictable for a while, and importantly, responding to increased need for support without assuming something's gone wrong, because in most cases it hasn't. As development settles, sleep usually settles alongside it, not because a regression ends, but because the system becomes more organised again, patterns start to feel more predictable, regulation improves, and things begin to smooth out. But that process isn't about rushing independence, it's about supporting change as it evolves. So the 4-month sleep regression isn't really a regression. It's a period where sleep needs are shifting, awareness is increasing, development is accelerating, and regulation is still catching up. And when all that overlaps, sleep reflects it, not as a failure, but as information. When children have higher needs, they need you more. It's as simple and as difficult as that. Now, if this way of understanding sleep feels calmer, more logical, and less fear-driven, that's exactly the approach we teach inside the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program. In the next videos in this series, we'll build on this by looking at why sleep suddenly gets worse, how long these phases tend to last, and why night waking increases. Because when these patterns are understood together, sleep becomes much easier to interpret. See you next time.